In this episode, over here to say it's gonna make it. If you're saying yes, in it, they will say the hilly.
Back in April 2018, I made an entry for the Film Fights Monster Mockumentary Contest. If you're not familiar with Film Fights, it's an online video competition site that runs a new contest every couple of weeks. There's no prizes, but it's a great place to hone your skills as a filmmaker. I'm very competitive when it comes to this kind of thing, and I'm currently the #1 film fighter on the leaderboard, which is an accolade I'm pretty proud of. Anyway, I saw this contest appear and knew it was right up my street. A mockumentary featuring monsters, how awesome is that? I instantly drew inspiration from the photo that was with the contest description. My premise was simple: what if these classic monsters were actually real and Hollywood was covering it up? As this was a documentary style film, I wanted to have several interviews with different characters to make it more interesting. I picked 3 monsters that I felt I could create the look for: the Mummy, the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster. I thought a little bit about the personality of these characters and gave them a little backstory in my mind while I wrote a 3-page script. I don't always write scripts for these short films, but as there was a lot of dialogue, this time it was essential. I knew I had several weeks before the due date of this film, so I set about creating the accessories and makeup I needed for each look. I started with the Wolfman sculpting a mould onto a casting of my face, onto which I built up layers of latex to create a facial prosthetic. After removing it from the mould, I realised it was really flimsy, so came up with the idea of using mouldable plastic to create a solid nose piece that I could also add teeth to. I don't know if you've ever used this stuff, but it's pretty awesome. It comes in bead form, you just add hot water and you can mould it into whatever shape you like. The Mummy makeup was much easier. I simply made a head armature out of scrunched up newspaper and masking tape, roughly to the size and shape of my own head, then cut up strips of old dusting cloths and applied these with the liquid latex, leaving eye and nose holes. I wanted the mouth to be covered up for reasons I'll get into later. I made the hands in much the same way, using a pair of cotton gloves as the base. Then once they were dry, I gave them an aged dirty look with acrylic paints mixed with latex. The Frankenstein's monster makeup was much more complex. I made the facial prosthetic in the same way as I did with the Wolfman, mixing the latex with green acrylic paint. I needed some neck bolts which I made from ridged plastic tubing, plugging the ends with cardboard and painting them silver. I also made neck hole appliances from the latex. And I wanted that square head look, so I made a cap out of cardboard and masking tape, which I covered with the green latex, then used aluminium armature wire for the staples and covered it in black fake hair. All the prep for this film was done in my spare time over a period of about 3 weeks. I was lucky enough to have some time off work for Easter, which I was going to use for shooting the film. I needed different locations for each character. My Frankenstein's monster character, who I named Adam after the monster in the original story, was to be a virtual recluse, so I used my own flat for this. I wanted the Wolfman to be in the woods at night, so I just used a photograph I'd taken of some woodland nearby. And for the Mummy, I knew they'd used Waverley Abbey as a location in the 2017 Mummy reboot starring Tom Cruise. This happens to be just a few miles away from where I live, so I went there and shot the backplate for that interview. I shot the interview for each character on a different day to give me plenty of time for makeup and to get all the shots I needed, particularly for the Adam makeup, which took about 2 hours to apply. As I was going to be playing each character myself, I needed to come up with different voices. For Adam, I tried to recreate the Boris Karloff monster voice from the 1931 Frankenstein movie.
So, well-known actors at the time, like Boris Karloff, took all the credit.
The werewolf had to be American, as a nod to one of my favourite werewolf movies of all time, An American Werewolf in London.
I'd had high hopes for a revival with Universal's Dark Universe series, but we all know what happened with that Mummy reboot, right?
And when it came to the Mummy, as he's the most powerful of these 3 supernatural creatures, I wanted him to sound the nerdiest. So I gave him a kind of high-pitched Monty Python type voice, which I thought would be even funnier if it was muffled by all the bandages, so I'd have to put up subtitles so you could tell what he was saying.
I'll hardly take over the world. Oh, the donut shop. I do like a donut.
Also, after each interview was in the can, I shot extra footage in front of a green screen, or in Adam's case a blue screen, that I could use to recreate shots from the old movies. I also made posters for each character in my photo editor, adding a Nosferatu and Invisible Man one for a bit of variety. The makeup for these 2 was simple. For Nosferatu I made some fangs out of the mouldable plastic, and cut out some eyebrows from fake fur that I stuck on with double-sided tape. The jacket belonged to my girlfriend and just so happened to look a bit like the one from the movie, and the Invisible Man was simply a white morph mask with some steampunk goggles and a fancy dressed gangster hat I had lying around. The editing was pretty straightforward. I used some public domain footage from the Prelinger archives, which added some great production value to the film, and used Pixabay for some of the other royalty-free images. Here's a little breakdown of some of the green screen work. film was made over about a month in my spare time, and is the most time I've ever spent on a Film Fights entry, but I live for this stuff and it was well worth every minute of effort.
Oh, darn, darn, darn.
Thanks Adam and Liv for sending me that awesome video of young Archie there. If you'd like to send me a PhantomWeen shout out, then film yourself saying PhantomWeen in your best spooky voice and send them to me at ThePhantomMonk@hotmail.co.uk and I'll feature them in the show. That's it for this episode, thanks for watching and happy PhantomWeen!
PhantomWeen.